Red Dead Redemption 2 is the best game ever created. It has the best graphics, the best map, a gang of interesting and diverse characters. You got the white man, the black man, the Mexican, the woman, myself. I mean, what more could you want from a game? One of the things I really like about this game is that its world is alive. The NPCs have more flavor than the average human in the 21st century. The graphics are so good. This NPC has an actual routine. You can follow him around and watch him complete various tasks. Look at this, they took an in-game photo and put it on the news because they thought it was real life. Like every Rockstar game, the characters are so compelling, each with their own motivations and desires. Did I mention the graphics yet? They don't make frames as detailed as these anymore. In fact, they don't make frames at all anymore. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a masterpiece, and that is why today, I am going to make you hate this game. When you read a title like this, you might think the challenge here is a test of skill and dexterity, but it's not. It's a test of endurance. You see, you might claim to love Red Dead Redemption 2, but how would you like it if every 45 seconds a game of Russian roulette was running in the background, and instead of a bullet putting you out of your misery, you would drag deeper and deeper into a dark pit of despair and hell as your soul drained with every passing hour? That's how I felt with this mod, and I haven't recovered since. Now you might have heard about the Chaos mod before. It made its first appearance in GTA 5, but if you haven't, well, here's how it works. Every 45 seconds, 1 out of 183 random events will play out. Here's a quick list of all of them. Some of these range from simply setting the time of day in-game, to fucking up everything completely. And as you can imagine, that means that trying to play the game normally becomes challenging? No, downright frustrating. Our objective today is not so simple. Beat the entirety of Red Dead Redemption 2 with this mod enabled. There's only one rule: failure is not an option. The year is 1899. The age of gunslingers was coming to an end. America, the land of the free, began to deny its citizens the freedom to kill and rob whoever they so pleased. Following a botched robbery in the Himalayan desert, the Vanderlyn gang trekked through miles of 7-inch snow, sub-zero temperatures, and general incompetence as they tried their best to get their bearings. However, on one stormy night, fate would lend them a singular golden nugget. Now you've heard the story before. Arthur Morgan and his two comrades, Dutch Vanderlyn and Micah, rolled up to this cabin, killed a bunch of folk, and took off into the dead of night. But you see, history is told by the victors. What if I told you that is not how this particular interaction played out? It is true that they rolled up on this cabin, but the truth is, they weren't as stealthy as they made it out to be. No, they caused quite the confuffle, quite the hubbub. Might I say they made a big fucking mess. A dwarf, a dead couple, some even say they saw God intervene at one point. And how they make it out, you ask? Well, it wasn't because of Arthur Morgan's aim, I'll tell you that. Let's just say if I told you, I'd have to kill you. Now the thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 is that it doesn't start out too great. And that's because of Chapter 1. You see, Chapter 1 consists of walking, and waiting, and walking some more, talking.
This is the right call, Arthur. Take this.
Walking. Even when you're on the fucking horse, it takes forever. Which means there's a big window for everything to go horribly wrong. RNG plays a big factor on how smooth missions are going to play out. Now the majority of the time, there isn't much you can do. But occasionally you can fight back, specifically against enemies the mod might spawn in. Now for some reason when the mod spawns in enemies, they're extremely hard to kill, either because they have a bunch of HP, or because the Cattleman Revolver is just ass. But back in the olden days, cowboys didn't need guns, explosives, or flying bikes. They had something better. The lasso is an incredible tool. You can incapacitate your enemies, carry them skiing, do this. I won't show it, but you can put 2 and 2 together. And therefore is the kryptonite to many of the Chaos mod's attacks. Frozen couple? Fuck out of here. Caveman? How's it hanging? Is that Micah Bell? Hey, we should totally hang out sometime. Now, after curing Arthur Morgan's schizophrenia, it was about high time we sank our teeth into something more succulent. Outlaws gotta outlaw, and our next target would be oh so sweet. You see, Red Dead Redemption's plot is driven by one thing and one thing only: money. So I give you the train robbery. Though it's a bit different than you might have remembered, might I say enhanced. Let me introduce you to one of 2 special effects. This is combo time. Now what combo time does is it stacks 3 different effects at once every 45 seconds, thereby issuing 3 times as much chaos, resulting in 3 times the migraine. I'd like to challenge the entire Red Dead community because I guarantee no one has failed as many missions in Chapter 1 as I have today. That also brings us to another rule: no skipsies. You see, normal people don't fail missions in this game at such an alarming rate. All those secrets the game hides, but I bet no one knew that you can skip checkpoints if you fuck up enough times. The end of the train robbery leaves us with a pile of bodies and a group of individuals whose main purpose is to make you feel remorse. And a useless piece of paper that doesn't matter because, as you'll soon find out, you can give Dutch Vanderlyn the kidneys of 5,000 slaves, and it still won't be enough to travel to Tahiti.
Yeah, Norton, Jones, and Garrison, all them young guns, yeah, they've been through. Tell you one thing that you won't believe, one ain't nothing but a thing to me, burn right through 'em like
Chapter 2. The worst is over, my soul calm, my heart at peace. Now Chapter 2 introduces us to point of interest numero uno, Valentine. It's a quaint little town down south or north depending on where you're from. It's got hookers with planets on their chest, you know the place, but anyhow, that's not important. As you can see, this man here is a retard that didn't tie his horses properly. He's also another tutorial to showcase the random encounters that this game has. It's a big part of the game, it makes it so there's a lot more to do besides story mode missions. Now if you choose to help out NPCs like this, you'll be rewarded with virtually nothing. You might feel a little bit better about yourself, but you shouldn't because it doesn't matter. But if you choose to kill and rob them, you'll get a slight bit of change as well as a bit of pleasure that's indicative of you needing some sort of psychiatric help. Now personally, I'm neither. I don't have time for this shit. My objective is to get to each cutscene in a timely manner, for each cutscene is a checkpoint from which I am safe from the wrath of God. Now the most interesting part about this mission to Valentine comes at the end, where you turn into a cow and you have to chase this man down. Hey, I seen you in Blackwater a few weeks ago. Nah, you got the wrong. Nah, I definitely seen you. I'm gonna get the law on you. Now this is the man from Blackwater, an individual who's seen us carrying out our heinous crimes, and as such, he knows that we're a dangerous criminal, which means he must be disposed of. We chase him down and luckily his horse fucks him over. Now at this point you have 2 options, you can either let him live or you can kill him. Now me personally, I'm gonna kill him. But we need to understand why. Reason. Remember the code, Mr. Morgan. Why does this man deserve to die? For simply making an observation? No. No. You see, the crime is much worse than that. In an alternate reality, if you save this man, thereby granting him the privilege to live out the rest of his days, he awards you with a very meek and pathetic gift. A pen. A pen with a retail value of 10 buckaroos. Calculating for inflation, that is $380, but that actually sounds halfway decent, so let's ignore that fact. You're telling me your life is worth 10 McChickens? My son, if you handed me your dirty underwear, I would have had more respect for you. But $10? Tonight's the night, and it's going to happen again and again. Something had awoken in me. Killing that man made me see it. Playing the game like a good boy beforehand had resulted in nothing but hardship and heartbreak. Something had awoken in me. A thirst for blood, vengeance, or retribution. Now aside from the law and gangs that were hunting us down, there was also the wilderness. Something had caught a whiff of my putrid mountain man stench and wanted to make me its tasty snack. This is Hosea. No, he's not the something I'm talking about. He's a very good character who dies later on, so don't get too attached. But he's also the bearer of various gifts, one of them being fun gameplay. Now this is a hunting mission. Here we're tasked with going deep into the woods to kill a poor animal that was just trying to mind its business. But the highlight of this mission doesn't have to do with any of that. It's the horses. You see, usually in other Rockstar games, your protagonist steals cars and shit. It's Grand Theft Auto, it's in the name of the game. But in this game, you actually decide to be a law-abiding citizen and go through the legal process of purchasing a horse. Now Hosea gives us this big black horse that he acquired by self-defense, and it can be sold for 65 rupees. Now you can either choose to keep it, which is what most players do, or you can sell it for a much shittier inbred donkey. Or, option 3, you can purchase one of the exquisite purebred pedigree horses that definitely weren't stolen from that hill over there 3 days prior. The problem with option 3 is that you're poor, and the game does a very good job of establishing this.
Once we get some money, but we need money. We need money. If we make a bit of money here, make enough money, still, we do need money. And remember, whatever it is that you find, the camp gets its slice.
Oh, that fucking box. See, another thing about playing through the game beforehand is that I know that being a team player is utterly worthless. It doesn't matter how much money I put into that damn box, how much I spend on upgrades, I know my money isn't going to good use. Dutch, remember that tent I bought for you, Dutch? I robbed and killed some poor fool for that money, Dutch. What the fuck has Mike ever done for you? Dutch, come back! And as such, I was now determined to buy the horse that no man has ever bought before. Young man, good day, please empty the contents of your pantaloons. Now my first bright idea when it came to earning 450 bands was to stay on my path of being a law-abiding citizen. I was an outlaw before, look where that got me. So what's my master plan, you might ask? Bounty hunting. Word on a Sesame Trail was there was a doctor who seemingly fell asleep in med school. Broke his oath to save his patients. Instead, he'd been slipping them drops of poison in their cough syrup. I'd gotten a tip from the sheriff about where he might have been hiding out. Now I didn't want to scare off this particular specimen, no. That would be too risky. Therefore I need a disguise, a story. See, my beautiful wife, Nylonia, she's from Thailand, had fallen ill, and she was in dire need of this doctor's special sauce. Good evening, my good man. Oh, fuck me.
Lenny's real sick. Oh, well, if that's the case, if it's for a sick woman, I'd be happy to help. I'm a healer, you know? A medical man. Oh, shit. Help! Got you now.
Bounty secured. Ooh, I was about to get me a new pair of hooves. I could taste it now. Here's your doctor, Sheriff. Looks like we'll be prescribing the news to you, little man. Very good, Sheriff. Now, where's my cash? $50. $50. Needless to say, my arc of law-abiding citizen was short-lived, but it's fine because I had another trick up my sleeve. You see, there was a secret place not too far from camp, a run-down, burned-down shit place that stored a secret treasure. How'd I know this? I googled it. But inside this secret chest, there was something golden. Literal gold. However, unbeknownst to me, this was completely worthless. You see, normally you can sell these gold bars for $1,000, but because this game tutorial goes on for 10 chapters straight, you don't actually unlock the place where you can sell it until chapter 3. You know that place is actually kinda lit, you can buy dynamite and shit, but nah. Fun? Huh, never heard of it. But you know what? Keep your gold bar. I had a better option. If the horse salesman can do it, then why can't I? This fucking horse sucks. And with all my options exhausted, there was only one path that remained for me. The thing about the Chaos mod is that it has a mind of its own. You walk into a store and try to rob it, you get molested by a dwarf. You go into another store, you get shanked by your own self. You start questioning how detailed the game really is. It enlarges all entities and shows you how detailed it really is. But you see, I spotted a flaw. The American healthcare system. You're telling me this doctor's office only has $20? Bullshit. Down on my luck, $92 to my name, and I needed approximately $300 if I wanted to buy that horse. I could have tried robbing a train, but that didn't go so well. Why, cruel world? Why have thou forsaken me? The thing about the Chaos mod is that it has a mind of its own. The Kamchatka brown bear, weighing in at roughly 300 kilograms. It's almost as heavy as your mother. Now hunting this big bitch was going to be slightly challenging because the Chaos mod has a really cool effect where it deletes all your ammo. But it would be fine, you see, I am one with the woods. The apes, those are my cousins. But more importantly, I had a good friend with me. A friend with a Winchester 48 caliber Smith & Wesson lever action rifle. I mean, he's a gunslinger, surely he knows how to use it, right? Hosea, where the fuck are you? Now thankfully the game spawns in a revolver for you in case you were wondering how I survived that, but I'm pissed off, you know why? Because no one has my back. My friends, useless. The government, they want me dead, rightfully so. The entire world was up against me, and that would come to a head on my way back to camp. Aside from the honor system, another way this game gets you to behave is by putting bounties on your head. Gone are the days of the police forgetting who you are minutes after you genocide a neighborhood. These cops, they remember, and they also stick the bounty hunters on you. If you have a bounty on your head from committing a very shitty robbery, then you run the risk of getting tracked down by bounty hunters. This was something I would have to live with for 2 reasons. 1, I'm not in control of my actions. 2, I'm poor. Now this particular encounter with these hoodlums went quite poorly for them, but I knew they weren't going to be the only ones. There was a price on my head in Blackwater, and now in New Hanover, a price that grew larger and larger each day. The days of gunslingers were numbered, so I decided to do what anyone else would do. I got drunk! Now if you're wondering why I was drinking on the job, it's because I knew a storm was coming. Not the bounty hunters, the cops, the weather. Oh, I stand corrected. 2 bad choices, unavoidable choices, dare I say, mistakes. Debt collecting and sin forgiving. Like I said, Red Dead Redemption 2's plot focuses on money, but a subcategory of this is keep the gang together. If you've played Red Dead Redemption 1, you know that doesn't work out too well, but I digress. These 2 points drive the game forward, but also become your eventual undoing. This is our Strauss, aka a massive dickhead. You see, he lets desperate folk borrow a sum of cash, a sum they cannot pay back, and I'm his loan shark. My job is to beat that debt out of them, and then dispose of the evidence. But the real crime is the subject he gave it to. Thomas Downs. Subject is a working man with a wife and child. God only knows why he brought a child into this earth if he couldn't fucking afford it. But Thomas Downs has a secret. He has Down syndrome. If you've played this game before, you know that this NPC sucks ass and deserves to die. Thomas Downs is a man who spreads HIV to Arthur Morgan, thereby contributing to his demise at the end of the game. Oh, I spoiled the ending? Fuck you. Game's been out for 6 years. Like I said though, unavoidable. And once the deed is done, the clock begins ticking down. Subject 2, the father. Not officially on the handbook, but you see, this wasn't business, this was personal. Now, this NPC can be encountered right outside the town of Valentine. The first time you meet him, he's defending a house he's building with his sons. If you choose to help him out, he'll thank you and you can be on your way. Now if you meet him a second time, he'll deliver a heartfelt story about how he's poor and can't finish building the house. Now, don't be fooled because this is how they get you. You can give him a loan and he'll agree to pay you back, and over the course of the game's chapters, the house will be built up more and more. It's truly amazing how much detail this game has, but I don't give a shit, because there's one problem. You see, in my first playthrough of this game, he didn't pay me back. Didn't even come look for me. Then I died. Subject 3, this one hits closer to home, sin forgiving. A man we've only known for a couple months who's shown a great deal of incompetence and foolishness. A man who can't be trusted, and yet, we're gonna trust him. Off to the west, a few miles off Valentine, is the town of Strawberry. In a jail cell lies Micah Bell. Dutch ordered us to go rescue him, but you see, if you want something done right, maybe you should have done it yourself. A bit of backstory. Earlier I mentioned a sick little place where you can sell gold bars. Now you can actually buy dynamite from this place as well, but you don't unlock it until chapter 3, which means technically you can't obtain dynamite until chapter 3, which is well after all of this. The only way to obtain it is to cheat, which is exactly what I did, with the sole intention of putting an end to this man's life. Now, usually to rescue Micah you need to hook up the bar on the jail cell to this winch, but what I didn't account for was the fact that this game really is as detailed as people say it is. Unavoidable indeed, seems history would be repeating itself once again. But now wasn't the time to wallow because we had yet another rescue mission to attempt, this one on a more likable character. I sure hope he doesn't die later on. Subject 4, Sean Maguire. Okay, I'm not doing this anymore. Aside from chapter 1, this was another part of the game that I was absolutely dreading, because it's another mission where you walk and talk a lot. And once again, if RNG isn't on your side, you're in for a very bad time. Could you move, you fat fuck? Jesus Christ.
Be very angry.
Yo, what? I didn't do anything. Javier died. Who gives a fuck? My game just crashed. With the gang reunited, now we were finally able to focus on what actually mattered, making that bread. Our first score fresh out of the Antarctic, a home invasion. Now the thing about home invasions is, it's ideal to do it when the occupants aren't at home. We would not be doing so. Additionally, stealth is a massive factor, one that is vital when it comes to ensuring the success of these types of jobs. We would not be doing so. You know, I always thought that getting caught meant you failed this mission, but you can actually kill the owners of the house because the police response time in 1899 is non-existent. It also changes the dynamic of the game because the people we're robbing are this guy's cousins, and he gave us the job. So in a way, he sent some random idiots to rob and kill his cousins. It's fucked up, dude. Micah had asked me to meet him up in the mountains near Strawberry. He was too much of a pussy to go back to Dutch after he had royally fucked up. I already made the mistake of rescuing him from that prison, surely going to meet him a second time would only add to my problems. Should have known. You go where trouble is, and trouble often follows. My poor boy was gone, caught in the crossfires of men who were gunning for me. Before playing this game, I viewed horses as an object of transportation, a shitty substitute for a car. But this was a sentient being, an animal I had grown close to. I worked so hard for it, and now he was gone. Cruel world indeed, but the only thing more cruel is this bullshit fucking mod. Thank you, this'll make a great replacement. Now on the bright side, the reason Micah wanted to see me was because of a robbery he had planned. A stagecoach deep in the woods. I know that doesn't narrow it down because the entire map is woods, but shut up. Now, Micah claimed that this particular stagecoach would not be heavily guarded. That was a lie. He also claimed we were robbing humans. That was also a lie. He also claimed he wasn't gay, but then he jumped on my horse and started gripping my balls. Speaking of horse, if you're wondering how I moved on so quickly, I didn't. The game actually gives you a default horse that's quite shit, but you see, I only demanded the best. Following the attack of those bounty hunters, I realized that the horse I spent my hard-earned cash on was hot garbage. If it was actually any good, it would have tanked those bullets. My Little Pony more like My Brittle Pony. And even though the stagecoach delivered me racks, I decided that the best horse that money can buy is the one you don't buy. It's the one you steal. All the way up north in the bleak midwinter lies a pond where purebred Arabians go to quench their thirst. It was up there I'd find my replacement. Now the average imbecile takes up to 2 hours to find the Arabian, but not me because I knew exactly where it was, and I still took long to find it.
Finally awake.
There she was, my replacement. A beautiful animal, majestic. Look at those polygons. Now taming a horse in the wild is no easy task. It requires patience and time, two things I absolutely did not have, but I was determined. This would surely be worth it. Finally seemed like things were getting back on track. We had a steady stream of cash that was falling into a bottomless pit, and Arthur Morgan was no longer a poor piece of shit. He even told his side piece to fuck off and kill their brother. However, actions have consequences, and eventually, consequences catch up to you.
What a fine young man!
Oh, why thank you. Oh, you were talking to the kid.
And in such complex circumstances.
You people venerate savagery, and you will die savagely.
What do you mean, you people?
Necklace.
The thing about the police back in these days is that they weren't afraid to play dirty. Laws were still in beta testing. Social media, it didn't exist. They weren't afraid of getting cancelled, and therefore, they were ruthless. Special Agent Milton, one of the overarching antagonists of Red Dead Redemption 2. A man of the law and a fine stick up my ass. He came here to broker a deal, Dutch Vanderlyn in exchange for our freedom. However, what he failed to understand is that freedom is not a right or a privilege, it is but a mindset. A mindset I have mastered. No longer was I bounded by the rules of the common man. This is hell. And there ain't no rules in hell. And to show Milton how little fucks I had left to give, I would humiliate him in the worst way possible. John Marston, a man with his own game that's way too fucking expensive, so I didn't play it. John here had scoped out another score for us. Dare I say he scoped out two. The first one being a whole ass train, and the second, well, I'd have to save that one for later because it's too mischievous. Now, both times we tried robbing a train, it didn't go so well. But John had a genius idea. Let me explain. Steal an oil wagon from the government, alerting the feds that are already on our tail, park it in front of the train so the driver is forced to stop, realize you didn't give the driver enough time to slow down, end up killing a bunch of innocent people, rob their corpses, escape into the night. Now, step 1, acquire the hardware, the wagon. The thing about the wagon is that you can dodge doing it altogether. You can just leave it and eventually John will do it himself. But where's the fun in that? Operation Steal the Oil Wagon was not going to be easy. For one, the location is heavily guarded by dozens of armed guards. Merely waltzing in was not going to be a smart plan, but I tried anyways. I actually got kind of further than I expected, but the thing about oil is that... Attempt number 2. Charm them with my dog. Don't worry fellas, he don't bite. The wagon. Wait, slow down. Attempt number 3. Alright, let's stop fooling around. It seems the mod has lent me a hand, in the cover of the night. We'd stealthily sneak in and... Attempt number 4. Verbal abuse.
You goddamn maggot! Know why? I find this so entertaining. Keep your shit. No more time!
Well, that went well. Now, usually when you steal the wagon, it's not supposed to be leaking on your way back, but don't worry because it does that sometimes. It's also supposed to be much easier to drive the damn thing to the objective rather than steal it, but dumbass.
Anyway, Arthur, what's your problem with me? In fact, don't tell me. I already know. You're threatened by me.
Now, schizophrenia aside, the train robbery actually went quite well. Good evening, give me your money. The only issue I ran into was that after robbing the occupants and going to the back of the train, I realized that the game, it broke. Regardless, we shot our way out, had a few more hiccups than we would have liked, and escaped into the dead of night. But I mentioned 2 jobs, and well, that was the first one. Quite successful indeed. The other one, well, this one would be quite the opposite. Dare I say our riskiest job yet, the most difficult, the most challenging, the most intense.
Round up the stragglers.
But you see, that wasn't the highlight of this job, there was more than that. We should have known, the bounty hunters, Agent Milton and the feds, all our sins were catching up to us. You leave behind a trail of blood and eventually the wolves come sniffing. Our efforts to live in peace led those who opposed our ways of life right to our doorsteps. I realized something that day. If you want to live in peace, you need to start with violence.